What's up, guys? Zaid here, and today I'm here with my boy Colby, and we're going to be going over a bunch of different combos for the Gishki Spright deck. At the end of the video, too, make sure you check the description, and we're going to have linked a spreadsheet about the deck. And so, do you want to just get right into it?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, sick. The first combo looks like it's Aquamere Focalization. It's just a one-card combo, right?
Yeah, so the end board is going to end you on Sprite Elf with Totally Awesome, and you should have a Sprite Speller Trap as well, plus the 4 cards that you would open with your opening hand.
All right, sick. Well, then let's get right into this. I'm going to just hit next play and let you take over the narration portion.
Sure. So you activate Aquamere Focalization. This card is one of the new ones coming out in Photon Hypernova. Lets you add any Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. The other effect is a little irrelevant for the build that I'm displaying in this video. So for now, we'll just focus on adding a Gishki monster from deck to hand.
So, in other words, right now you're not playing a trap to set off of this?
Yeah, correct. Well,
right.
yeah.
And so we're using it to add Grim?
Yeah, Gishki Grim is going to be another one of the new cards coming in Photon Hypernova. He lets you, on normal summon or special summon, lets you special summon a Gishki monster from your deck. But you are locked into only attacking with Gishki water ritual monsters.
Which does not matter turn 0, but could be relevant on like turns 3 when you're trying to go for lethal.
Correct. So here you're going to grab Abyss. Abyss is the broken one. He's the one that can search multiple times per turn.
And he's old, right? I think I remember this card.
Yeah, this one's older. So here he's going to search either Gishki Shadow or Gishki Vision.
In this replay, we opt for Vision, though.
I usually opt for Vision because it's a level 2. So in case you don't go into the rest of your combo, or in case your board gets broken, you have a level 2 for your Sprite plays the following turn.
That's fair, that's fair. And this card lets us discard it to add a ritual monster?
Correct.
I'm guessing the other one you said that we would add lets you grab a spell.
Yes, Gishki Shadow lets you add a ritual spell.
I see. And then are we linking these away, probably?
Yeah, you're going to link these for Sprint. Sprint is going to dump Nimble Angler. And the Nimble Angler effect to summon 2 Nimble Beavers.
Extending for days.
You're going to overlay these for Gigantic here. Activate Gigantic effect. Swap Frog to send a Swap Frog from deck. Make your Sprite Elf. And then Sprite Elf special summon Swap Frog. Overlay for Toad. So this combo in particular does not end with a Sprite Spell Trap in hand. I was incorrect. It's because you don't have an option to get into your Sprite engine via this one line in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the other ones you will be able to get to your Sprite line as well, though.
So should we just go to the next one now?
Yeah. Just keep in mind that you end on this board, you also have 4 additional cards in your hand, though.
Yeah, like that's a bare minimum. It's just 2 level 2s, basically.
Yeah.
So this next one's another just Aquamere line?
This is going to be another Aquamere line instead of going for the... I'll let you play it out, and I can show you when you get there.
All right, so I'm assuming it's going to be similar from the start. Grab Grim, grab the guy that searches.
Grim, grab Abyss search. And then from here you make Sprint.
Angler for beavers.
Yep.
Gigantic.
And then here is where it changes. You're going to search your Sprite engine instead of your Gishki engine.
I see, so we're going to grab Blue. Blue's probably grabbing Jet.
Blue grab Jet, and then Jet grabs a spell Sprite Trap. I grab Starter in all of the videos. It could also be Double Cross or Smashers, whichever you prefer.
Linking to...
So you're going to link these off for Elf. You're going to use Elf to special summon back Gishki Abyss. Gishki Abyss to search the other Gishki monster. So now you have Shadow and Vision in your hand.
So now we could be ritual summoning if we want to.
Well, you're locked into level 2s here.
Oh, so, because of Gigantic.
Yeah, but now you have Shadow and Abyss, or Shadow and Vision for your follow-up turn.
In a like equal amount of interruptions that we had before, the last line gave you 2 interruptions. This gives you 2 different interruptions, potentially more if you play something like an Appaloosa for the IP, but also gives you more follow-up.
It gives you a lot more follow-up because you keep in mind you started with 1 and you have 3 in hand. Right now, so you would have 7 in hand on the end of your turn.
Yeah, we'd be setting the starter. We'd have 6 in hand. The starter can get us like red or carrot. IP turns into something to interrupt.
Well, this variant of Sprite doesn't normally run red because Nirmanus is also a monster negate, and so you don't normally need Sprite red.
Do you
You
play
normally
Carrot,
run
though?
Sprite Carrot. That way you can prevent evenly matched Lightning Storm, things like that.
I like that. If the Gishki engine already can get you monster negates, why add another, like, quote-unquote garnet to your deck? Should I open up
So this, yeah,
Good.
this end board is really nice. I like the fact that you have so many cards in hand at the end of this combo that you can set a bunch of cards. You can keep extending after this. This isn't the end of your turn, but this is a good place to end if you wanted to.
And especially, like, the fact that you do it off one card. Like, if you're playing a deck that has a lot of hand traps, you might have 2, 3 hand traps in hand with this. You might have Bestials, you might have Ash, and then you have this, like, competent board
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go to replay number 3 now. Boom.
This one is going to end on Elf, Totally Awesome, Gigantic, or IP. For this one, you have to have a Swap Frog in your hand as well as Vocalization.
So this is a nice 2-card combo. We're moving up in the amount
Yeah.
of cards we use. So we're still starting the same, grabbing Grim. Grim going to grab... I need to remember this card's name. Gishki
Gishki
Abyss.
Abyss.
That's the one that gives you crazy amounts of searches.
Yeah, he's the one that adds a lot of value to your turn.
So he's adding Shadow.
For in this instance, the reason I add Shadow is because for this build, I run multiple Shadows and I only run one Vision. And you're going to be discarding the Shadow with Swap Frog, so you want to be able to have another one in deck to search your ritual spell later in the duel.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. And then we're doing the same thing with Sprint, probably, dumping Angler.
Yes.
Does
A lot
ev-
of the lines are going to start this way. Sprint is just a crazy extender for this deck.
I'm assuming most lists, if not all lists, play the Nimble package.
They don't have to. I've been testing with both. Unfortunately, the Nimble engine just adds so much gas to your lines and opens up so many extra lines that I don't really think it's worth not playing.
Yeah, that's really fair. The cards are crazy. So then Gigantic here, gonna grab the blue again.
Yeah. Yep. And then blue for Jet, Jet for Sprite Spell Trap. And then this will be very familiar with the board from before.
Oh, but here we're discarding the special, the swap. Now that we're nib proof and stuff, it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
Swap, dump,
So
swap.
then you do your same thing. You summon your elf.
I just noticed that there's little notes here too.
Yeah, it's just in this one, I believe, because on my guide there's another line that shows another end board you can do with the same
Oh,
with the
sick.
same hand.
So then Elf bring back the swap, make the Toad. Now we've got the blue for follow up and starter.
Yeah. So the other line is right here. Instead of using the Swap Frog to bounce the blue, you could have used the blue and the Gigantic to make an IP as well.
So that's for instances where you feel like you want to contribute more to the board.
Yeah. It also plays under Super Poly as well, since you have a dark, a water, and a fire.
Oh, true. I didn't even think about that. Do you think Super Poly is going to be something we really need to play around, or is it just a good it's good that the board can?
It's just good that the deck can do it.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna click this next one. It looks like this one's one where we start ending on the Evo Gishki guy.
Yeah, this one's gonna end with a Nirmanus on board.
Hell yeah.
This is probably one of the largest boards that you can build.
Is this also just a 2-card combo?
I believe this is 2 cards. Yeah, this will be Focalization or Gishki Grim plus either the ritual spells or Gishki Vision or Gishki Shadow.
So in any hand where we're opening Aquamere Focalization, Grim is another substitute for that, right? So like,
Yeah, it could also be Grim.
yeah, so you have 6 copies of it to do that. You also, if you play Prosperity, have pretty much 9 copies because it's hard to miss a 6 of when you're digging.
Yeah, it's also not once per turn.
Really?
It is not. The second effect to set a Aquamere spell trap is once per turn, but the search is not.
That's insane. And another thing to note too is if you were playing the trap I believe lets you like summon the ritual back from hand or something, right?
It is Gishki Illusion. It lets you cheat out a ritual monster from your hand, correct?
Yeah, so if you played that card in here, any board that's ending on the ritual monster would end on basically an additional copy of it.
It would end on an additional copy of it on your opponent's turn, assuming that you're able to use the Nirmanus on your opponent's turn as well.
So it's like a situational interruption, but if someone's like, oh, that's not enough interruptions for me, they could put that Garnet in their deck and have an additional interruption potentially?
Correct, because Nirmanus returns itself to hand to negate in addition to negating and then shuffling a monster back into your opponent's deck.
That's so
So
good.
then the illusion allows you to summon the Nirmanus again for an additional negate.
I like that a lot. That seems really strong. But also a brick.
It is. That's why I don't prefer to play it. I already play Sprite Double Cross, so I don't want to play too many of them in my deck.
So should I just let this go? Does it start off the same way?
It should start off similarly, yes.
So we're going to go Grim into Abyss. Abyss is going to search the spell Trap Searcher. Oh, look at it. I'm getting this down. Are we going to use both the search now? Search the ritual. Search the spell that you pay life points to use, right?
No, you're actually going to search just the basic Aqua Mirror here.
From your hand. So this you just have to tribute guys from your hand?
Hand or field.
Hand or field.
Correct. And Gishki Grim can count as the entire ritual material.
Oh, cool. So we're going to use...
So you use it here to send Grim, and then Nirmanus, when he's summoned, allows you to special summon a water monster from your graveyard.
Oh, really? Cool. So he's like an interruption, but he also extends your line.
Correct.
That is so free.
So now you have your monster negate on board, as well as 2 level 2 bodies.
And can this stop hand traps?
It can.
So I can't be nibbed here.
No.
Which I think is very important going into like Kashtira format, because I think nib is going to be a pretty prominent hand trap. So having protection before the 5th summon in a 2-card combo seems really good. So then here we're going to link 2 into Sprint again. Sprint, Dump, Angler, summon 2 boys.
You're going to grab your 2 nimble beavers, make your gigantic Sprite here. And since you already did your Gishki line, you're going to go straight into your Sprite line here.
Grabbing Blue, grabbing Jet, grabbing Starter, or any of the other ones, Smasher, Double Cross, whatever you want. And then here, Elf, right? Yeah.
Correct. And you're going to Elf for Abyss, just to get a free search in. Here I think I grab Shadow, because there's another ritual spell in the deck that you could grab on the following turn.
What does this one do exactly? You can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck to target a ritual in your grave, add it to your hand. So that even like just now you have full ritual follow up next turn if you wanted, because if this were to go to grave somehow, you could shuffle it back.
Nirmanus gets outed.
Yeah, you would shuffle this spell back, add this back, and then use this to add this again.
Correct.
That's it.
In the next combo, I actually use that interaction to build this same board without using the Nimble engine at all.
Oh, awesome. So that way if people wanted to cut that to save space on the garnets, or if, say, you went into Sprint, got hand trapped, there's still ways you can do it.
Yeah.
So now we're going to link 2 into the IP, and you just leave the Gigantic on board, it looks like?
Yeah, there's really nothing else you can do with it here, unfortunately.
It makes your starter stronger.
It does. It's also a 3,200 monster on board. So it's if your board doesn't completely get outed, you still have the follow-up from the Gigantic on your following turn. So it's still a threat on board.
And if they don't out it, like it's full combo too. It's like it gets you whatever Gishki you want or whatever Sprite monster you want. Just keeps your entire engine rolling. And it's link fodder for IP. It's like it's still fulfilling a role being there.
Yeah, it's not useless there. So
I'm gonna click this next one. This is the
this
nimble
next one
combo.
is gonna be the same end board, but it's gonna use no nimble engine. This kind of showcases a little bit how the Gishki engine can really play through things.
So starting off the same?
Yeah, you're going to use Focal to grab Grim to grab Abyss.
And we started with Focalization plus Shadow this time. But since we're searching a Vision, we could have started with Vision instead of Shadow, right? And then
it could have been either one. It also could have been the actual ritual spell or the ritual monster, and it would be the same line.
Which is a lot of copies of a card. These are all like 1 and 2 card combos, but none of them are exact 1 and 2 card combos. There's 15 cards in the deck that fill the roles.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like it so much.
And so now from here, we're searching with Vision, and then we're going to search with Shadow, I'm assuming?
Yeah, you're going to grab the Aqua Mirror off of Shadow.
And why do you opt for this mirror instead of the life point one? Is it just for like time or something?
Not only that, but also it's just not worth 5,000 life points.
You feel like it's easy to kill this deck if it's on that low of HP?
Not necessarily, but I just don't believe that spending 5,000 life points in a deck that already uses your life points to play your cards, for instance, Sprite Starter, is necessary.
That's true. If I have to use Starter to start plays, I'm going to pay 1,100 for blue, and then if I have to use it for Carrot on their turn, I'm going to pay 1,000, and then if I'm using this, that you also really only get to use the ritual spell once at that point.
Correct. I do believe it has a use, but it's just not in this deck.
Yeah, not in this build or in this deck. So here we're doing the same thing we did before, attributing Grim to summon out the near. How do you pronounce this?
Nirmanus.
Nirmanus.
And then Nirmanus will summon back Gishki Grim. And then you're going to link off the Abyss and then Nirmanus for Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf will special summon back Gishki Abyss. Gishki Abyss will search Gishki Shadow. And then you're going to activate the Aqua Mirror in Graveyard to add the Nirmanus back to hand and put the Ritual back in deck. Now you can Shadow to search the Ritual again. And then Ritual summon again.
And will this summon again?
And it will do it again. Yes, it's not once per turn.
Insane. Is Nirmanus a new one too?
Yeah, this is the Ritual from Photon Hypernova.
I see, I see. Usually when they print new cards, they put once per turn in the text.
Yeah, so now you end on Elf with Nirmanus, and you still have 2 level 2s to go into your Sprite engine here.
So we're getting blue, getting jet, getting a search.
So Jet will search your spell trap, and then you can link those off for an IP, and it's the same end board as before.
Or do you have something that we can make in the extra deck if you would have used the nimble here? Because wouldn't it give you like an additional body or two that you could have then used? Like what would we do in addition if we are using nimbles?
So instead of the IP, you could have made Sprint Dump Angler, put 2 more bodies on board. Unfortunately, at that point, the Sprint is stuck on board.
Oh yeah.
So
well then if this were moved over and you left the Sprint here, you could use the 2 nimbles to make an IP, and then you'd have the Sprint negate because of Gigantic, or the Sprint
Correct.
interruption.
Correct. You would have a Sprint interrupt as well as the remaining stuff on board.
Sick. So
I'm not a huge fan of that because I believe this board in general already runs the risk of just getting dark rollered.
Yeah, you don't want to contribute more of your cards and more of your
Then
lines.
you're contributing more resources to getting dark rollered, whereas you can use Sprint the next turn as follow up instead.
I see. I like that idea too. I'm gonna click on this next one now. This looks like
This one's going to be Elf, Totally Awesome, and Evagishki Nirmanus.
Is this also going to be
this is
2
a
cards?
2 card. This is going to be Focalization and Swap Frog.
Did I click the right one?
Incorrect. I believe so.
All right, bet. Let's see how. Let's make sure. So we're gonna grab Grim again. Grim for Abyss, Abyss for Vision.
Yes, because you don't go into the Sprite engine. You're gonna go. You're gonna. Yeah.
Gonna grab the mirror. Gonna use Vision to grab the Ritual. Like I'm starting to learn it now. Use the Ritual to tribute Grim to summon the guy. Use the guy to bring back Grim. Link 2. Sprint effect. Dump the Nimble. Summon 2 more Nimbles. Like I could basically play this deck. I bet. I'm the Evo Gishki man now.
Yeah. So you overlay for Gigantic, and then this is essentially the same as your regular Toad line, but now you have Nirmanus on board.
It's interesting too, like when you see the tiny variations that you get to make throughout the lines, it also can kind of clearly show you where if you open which 3rd card, like what other interactions you put up. Like if we opened Swamp Frog in this hand as our 3rd combo piece, we would get to make the same board, but then also have Blue Jet and a Search.
Exactly. Yeah, the deck is it's very linear. The combos can be, but you have a lot of options just because of how much engine is in the deck.
Mm-hmm. It seems really, really cool. I'm digging it. So then Elf back the Swamp Frog that we dumped, and then here we make the Toad. So
yes.
this is where we got 2 Omni Negates and a Monster Negate for 2 cards.
And then you still have 3 cards in hand as well.
Mm-hmm. And the Elf for follow-up.
Correct.
Which one was next? The basic Nimble opener?
The next one is going to be Basic Nimble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which should be Elf and IP, but it's going to be using the Nimble engine and the Gishki engine. I really like Totally Awesome in this deck because all the Gishki cards are water monsters, and it can add back the Shadow and the Visions back to your hand.
Oh yeah, so you have like insane follow-up with that.
So like if you don't want to, if you already have a beaver or you already have a normal summon for your next turn, you can add back the Gishki engine to help break your opponent's board with like Gishki Ice Mirror.
Wait, which one is that?
I believe it'll show it in one of these next few replays.
Oh, sweet. So here, Nimble for Angler. So you play 2 Angler, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's going to be the 5 card package. So the 3 beaver, the 2 angler.
We go into Sprint, dump an angler, summon 2 beavers, overlay for gigantic for
It's going to summon Grim here.
Grim. I knew it. Let's go. I was thinking maybe blue, but probably Grim. So Grim is going to special Abyss. Abyss is going to search Vision, or the other one. Yeah, Vision. Look at this. Look at this. I'm psychic.
If I'm not sure what I want to go into, I usually search Vision to be safe because it's just the level 2, so that in case you do draw another name, your Sprite engine is still live.
Yeah. I see. So like it increases the amount of top decks in your deck that become viable options. Like if you top deck blue with nothing else, you're like, oh cool, they broke my board. This blue's a dead normal summon. But with Vision, it's full combo.
Yeah, basically.
So then we're gonna link 2 into Elf. Yeah, and then link 2 into IP, and then Elf for the Abyss and search again. It sucks that Gigantic locks you.
It does, yeah. One of the main reasons I search Vision is for this situation here, you end with Shadow and Vision in your hand. I also only run 1 Abyss in my build. 1 to 2 is the correct number in my opinion. I prefer 1 because you don't really want to open this card. It's arguably the worst normal summon in the deck, despite its effect being not being once per turn.
Yeah, and it's not like you need more normal summons in the deck. You know, you got triple beaver,
exactly.
Double swap. I'm assuming triple
3 swap frogs actually.
3 swap. So then you have 3 swap. Well, everything's water, so it works as a better extender than like in a pure Sprite deck. But then you also have
that's why you can afford to run 3.
3 Grim, 3 the spell, 3 prosperity. I'm assuming.
Correct.
So yeah, you definitely wouldn't need the additional summon. But does Grim summon from hand or deck? Or just deck?
It's only from deck.
So that's the only time where you might be wishing you had another, as if you open Grim plus Abyss. That's where it's going to hurt.
Pretty much. Which it can hurt opening up Abyss, but it doesn't necessarily ruin your plays because you're still playing Sprite. You can still do just a standard Sprite combo without the Gishki stuff, and it's still going to be a very strong end board.
And I'm assuming there's lines too that would somehow or some way like mitigate it depending on what you drew in hand. Like I could probably just summon Grim, special something else out, and then when you get access to like the swap frog, bounce swap back, pitch it to special swap or something somewhere to get it back engraved to elf summon.
Yeah, you can always discard the Abyss with Swap Frog. Abyss is arguably the best normal summon after your first turn. Because unlike Grim, it doesn't lock you into water ritual monsters.
I see, so you still get the battle phase.
Exactly. So if you are running multiples, instead of adding Vision to your hand when you bring back Abyss, you could... Well, he can't search himself, so Vision would still be the right choice there, actually.
Did we already search with this? Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we're gonna do the searches for the spell and the monster now.
Ooh, that's the one I haven't seen yet.
This is Ice Mirror. Yeah, the reason you search Ice Mirror in this instance is because it's a board breaker. It is if you tribute one of your opponent's monsters, it can tribute any of their monsters to fulfill the entire requirement for a ritual summon. And then you take damage equal to your ritual monster's attack points, but it is a non-target removal for a card on your opponent's board.
That is really strong. I misread it at first, and I thought that you had to tribute exact levels.
Yeah, no, you can tribute an Exceed monster or a Link monster. Yeah, it can be anything.
And in just any one monster. It's kind of like, I think Grim, right, counts as the full tribute. It's like all your opponent's monsters are Grim.
Basically.
That's really strong. That's the end of this one, right? So it gives you the Elf with the IP. Elf is going to give you follow-up with either a search from Grim or... Mainly a search from Grim, I think, with this graveyard. Not Grim, this one, Gishki Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Is this on normal or special summon?
It is.
Yeah, so, like, does this deck play Appaloosa?
It can. It's a very, very Link-oriented deck, in my opinion. This variation is. Compared to the Nimble Sprite engine is very... Exceed based. I think this version can play Links a lot better. I think ending on IP in this deck is very, very strong.
And because I was thinking, like, with an Appaloosa being accessible, Elf could like grab Grim. Grim could grab another guy. Say you did play the second Abyss, you grab another and get a search. Now you got 4 monsters to use with IP to make a 4 material Appaloosa. It seems like
Correct.
there's just a lot of interesting ways this deck can be built, it looks like, based on like when you take the base combos, I see a lot of ways that like players can change it to make the builds unique to them and the boards unique to their local metas.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. Plus, that 4 negate Appaloosa would also be under Elf, so it
Oh,
would
so
be
it's
untargetable as
untargetable.
well.
Yeah. Nice imperm in your hand, bozo. so,
I for my Link 4, I prefer Avermax. So I usually use the Elf to make Avermax instead. But
'cause that's
the Appaloosa play is also a really good one.
yeah, that's where it's just cool that it's like if you're at a locals or a regionals or something that you think that people aren't going to have the outs to Avermax plus like your other interruptions, then you make that. And if you're at one where you think something like Appaloosa would wreck house, then you can make that. Like, and if the meta shifts to where one's better than the other, it's just cool the deck has all these options.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for this deck.
The next one is the advanced Nimble Beaver opening, right?
Correct. This is going to be Elf, Sprite Elf, IP Masquerena, and Totally Awesome. So it's going to be Nimble Beaver plus Swap Frog.
I'm gonna hit fast forward real quick, get this set up.
That's one of the best parts about this deck is if you open Swap Frog, you are always able to make Toad, pretty much.
You're always having a water. Everything in your deck's water, except a blue
Majority
and
of
jet.
your and majority of your lines end up searching a water off of Abyss, so you always have a discard for it as well.
Are the ratios for the Sprite cards like 3 starter, 3 blue, 1 jet, 1 carrot? Is it
3
something like that?
starter, 3 blue, 3 jet,
Ooh,
1
3
carrot.
jet, 3 jet.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Because then if you draw it, you get to do that like whole thing still. Yeah, because if you draw it, you can go jet for starter, starter for blue, blue for carrot, and you still like are getting 3 bodies plus an interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And so
There's no reason. There's no reason to lower the ratios in your Sprite engine other than cutting red, because we haven't gotten hit on a ban list yet. So,
But if we do, the
there's no-
deck's versatile enough that it could.
yeah, even if we do, this deck is still viable in my opinion. Actually, I think it's more viable if we do, because then that cuts out some of the other options that the other variants that the deck can play right now.
And so this looks like it's starting the exact same way. Not exact same, but Beaver into Angler, Link into
Yeah,
Sprint.
it's gonna be the same up until you get to the IP and Elf.
Yeah, so Sprint for Beavers, Gigantic for Grim, Grim for Abyss, Abyss for Shadow. And is this going to be used as discard fodder again, the Shadow?
Yes, correct.
So here we're going to make Elf, we're going to make IP, we're going to pitch Shadow to special swap, swap, dump a swap, Elf bring back the swap, and now we've got the IP double toad board.
Correct. So
Which-
this uses the 2 cards in hand and unfortunately doesn't give you 2 cards back. However, you do have the Toad add back on your opponent's turn to get some follow-up as
Yeah,
well.
which will give you 2 cards back, because Toad is going to add back something like either Shadow and like Grim to do that full combo, or it can grab back like a Beaver, or I mean an Angler, not an Angler, but like a Beaver and I don't know what else, Shadow, whatever you need, I guess, based on your other cards.
You would normally be like Shadow and Abyss, or a Beaver and Abyss. You would want to add back Abyss instead of Grim because Abyss doesn't lock you into.
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
water
you were
rituals.
saying that I could still attack with everything next turn if I do it that way.
Yeah, post turn 1, Abyss is a much better normal summon when you already have a board established.
Mm-hmm. And then
So that should be the end of this one. I think there's 2 more.
yeah,
These next 2 are going to be Sprite Starter. So it'll be the same line, same end boards, but starting with Sprite Starter. So you'll always have an additional Sprite spell trap in hand.
And a thing to note again for everybody that's watching, like these are all very, very like minimal cards. Every single combo has been 1 to 2 cards. So like the rest of your hand is either going to be hand traps or interruptions, or they're going to be more extenders, which after you learn these basic lines, you then start to think like, okay, what if I open these 2 plus this and these 2 plus that? And you can like expand on the combos. I'm sure the boards get a lot bigger even just adding 1 extra combo piece, because we saw the difference going from 1 to 2 cards usually becomes 1 to 2 extra negates with a bunch more follow-up. I can't.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy the stuff that this deck can do.
So, but this is like where you say it's sometimes rough playing the 5K guy, because here we're leading with starter. We're going to take some damage on the way to getting our board.
Exactly. So if you had played Photo Mirror is the other ritual spell that costs life points instead, you take 500 life points for each star of the ritual monster you're summoning.
Yeah, and he's
Nirmanus
10.
has 10 stars. So
Do
you
the
would be
lists that play that card play another ritual spell, or do they only play that? Because I see if they only play that, they probably only get to ritual once.
They would. I don't see a reason to not play Ice Mirror. Ice Mirror is probably one of the best ritual spells that Gishki could have gotten.
Yeah, that's the board breaker one, right?
Yeah, it's both removal and a ritual on top of it.
That one is
And
really
then if you're ritualing Nirmanus, you also get a special summon from Grave, so it starts your plays as well.
And so this is looking at first like a basic sprite line. We're gonna go blue into jet, probably into another starter or a smasher or something.
It'll be any spell trap, whichever you prefer. For all of these, I just grab starter for simplicity's sake.
Sprint, dump, summon the 2. Is there ever a case in this deck where Sprint is dumping a different card outside of Angler, or is it basically 100% of the time this card dumps Angler?
There's no better card in Yu-Gi-Oh to dump off Sprint than Angler.
Yeah, so like if my opening hand is Angler Swap Frog, am I just never gonna make the Sprint?
You're just not going to go into the Sprint line.
And so here we're going to bring out the 2 beavers, probably go straight to Gigantic. Gigantic's probably getting Toad. It's either Toad or the Gishki, right?
It's going to be Gishki Grim.
Yeah, Grim, grab Abyss Search. Then Elf here?
Yeah, you're going to make Sprite Elf.
Make IP, and then Elf is going to bring back probably Vision. I mean Abyss.
And Abyss will grab Shadow.
So now we again
so
have
you end on Gishki full combo in your hand for searching the ritual and the ritual monster, and then starter to search Carrot on your opponent's turn if you're scared of board breakers, or to search blue or jet if you just want more follow up.
This deck looks like it does like the way you have it built. It basically is just making very similar end boards, at least with the 1 to 2 card combos that a normal Sprite deck would do. But it seems like it just has a lot more follow up.
It has insane follow-up. You don't have to rely on Toad going to the graveyard to get your follow-up in case Toad gets called by or it's just something happens and you can't get your follow-up that way.
Yeah, say they Dark Ruler and it's stuck.
You're pretty much always guaranteed to have a play for the next turn, which I really, really like.
And this is the end of this one, right? We might be using those to search. We're probably grabbing the ritual spell that removes from their board and then the Nirmanus.
Yeah, you're going to grab the Ice Mirror just because going into the next turn, if they have a board established, Ice Mirror is going to be better to break their board with.
One question.
What's up?
I forget the name of the spell card. The spell card that searches Grim. Can it...
Aqua Mirror Focalization.
Yeah, can it also set Gishki ritual spells, or is it just traps?
It can set Aqua Mirror spell or trap cards.
Do you play any of them or no?
You play the ritual spell. So
yeah,
it can
so the ritual spell is one?
It can set the ritual spell from your deck.
So the reason I was thinking about it was because I was just thinking, like, this deck has a couple cards that are nice to get hit if they're playing a Shizus, and that seems like one of them. If they Shizu, they have to hit one of the shuffle backs, or you're going to automatically have your spell.
Yeah, because you can just set it on your end phase if they didn't bounce it back to your deck.
And that seems kind of cool.
It's also unfortunate for them because then they're bouncing a starter back into your deck. So.
Yeah, it gives you better odds. Like, they'd be like, cool, I hit the starter. And if they don't read, like, the whole card, they probably won't even notice it. Because this deck, I'm doubting, is going to be, like, a tier 0 mega threat. Like, it's probably going to go under people's radar for a while because of all the other stuff coming out in the set. People are
I agree.
You think it'll definitely be overlooked at first?
I think it's going to be very much overlooked.
I'm going to click on this last one here, the Advanced Sprite Starter Opening. So is this one going to be opening or starter plus another card, or is it going to still just be opening?
This is going to be your traditional. It's going to open Swap Frog. It's going to be your traditional Sprite end board with Elf Toad, but you're going to have an IP as well.
So we're going to go starter for blue, take 11, special jet in a starter, or any of the other ones, and then sprint, dump, special the 2 nimbles. Overlay for Gigantic effect
Correct.
for Grim, Grim for Abyss for Vision, or the other guy, maybe the other guy for discard fodder.
I believe it's Shadow.
Yeah.
Whenever it's discard fodder, I usually grab Shadow.
Like you said, you play multiple. Yeah. Why is that the one you opt to play multiples of?
Because I only play 1 Nirmanus, so I only think I need 1 Vision. I play 2 ritual spells, so I play 2 Shadow.
I see. And so
the ratios worked out when I was testing. That's just what I found most comfortable for me.
I accidentally left it playing.
To 2.
Oh, go ahead.
You could play 1 to 2 of each. You could play 2 shadow, 2 vision. I opted to cut 1 vision so I could fit more non-engine in my deck.
Which is good in a deck like this where every combo is 1 to 2 cards. You want to also be drawing non-engine on top of that, either to play through their interruptions or to interrupt them as well.
Yeah.
It's like you said, your board's a little susceptible to a Dark Ruler. So if I use 2 to 3 cards to make a board, they Dark Ruler it, and I don't have hand traps and I don't have back row, I can kiss that Dubsky goodbye.
Yeah.
And so we linked into Elf. I accidentally had left it on fast forward for a second, so I just felt like I had to say linked it into Elf to make up for that. But now we're going to special the swap by pitching Shadow.
Correct.
Swap, dump,
and then
swap.
You still have your Elf effect, so you'll summon back the Swap Frog.
Yeah, and then overlay here. So this is 2 interruptions off Toad and Elf, and then IP is either going to be an interruption or it's going to make the Crusadia. Do you play like Unicorn as well or no?
I do, yeah. And since you play 3 Swap Frog, you can actually summon one of them on your opponent's standby phase with the Toad.
Ooh, so you have an additional link fodder or tribute fodder for Sprite cards as well.
Yeah, you'll have an additional body for IP.
If you were to play the ritual that takes life points, would there be a case to play like 2 swap and a dupe? That way you can like summon dupe so you're not taking as much damage? Is that any...
Photomir is a ritual spell that works best if you're playing pure Gishki and you're trying to loop your ritual monsters over and over again. Because you don't need bodies to summon your monster anymore. So like a Gust Kraken loop to hand loop your opponent is usually what people use it for. It's not very viable.
It's not.
I'd say it's viable if you could rip more than 2 cards out of your opponent's hand and still be able to establish a board.
But sadly, you can't really.
Not in this variant, no.
And so
in pure Gishki, it is very much possible, but not with Sprite involved.
But this like 2-card combo here, just like most, if not all the 2-card combos, gives you either 3 interruptions and then the Avermax, or 4 interruptions and then still a bunch of follow-up as well.
Correct. None of the combos leave you with less than 2 interruptions.
Sick. That's so cool. And this was the last one, right?
Yeah, this is the final one.
So do you have any other thoughts you want to give before we close out the video?
Yeah, if you're worried about drawing or bricking, you can also run Beautiful Princess. That's an optional card. It's basically 3 more copies of Gishki Grim.
That's the level 1, right? That banishes itself to special a fish from deck?
Yes. Normally, if you're playing Beautiful Princess, you're going to be playing it in place of the Nimble engine. I don't really see a reason to run both. Simply because that's just too many normal summons in the deck.
Yeah, that's a lot of normal summons at that point. That would be like fucking 15 or something if you count Swap Frog.
Yeah, it would be too many. In the guide as well, I have like the core for just the bare Gishki build, Gishki Spright, and then I have the core for the Nimble Gishki Spright as well, depending on which one someone wants to build. It's the bare bones that I think you can strip cards from it or add cards to it as you see please. But I think it's a good foundation to start with, at least.
Yeah, like a nice template, because we can't exactly say this is the best build or that's the best build yet, because it really depends on what list we get, what the meta looks like. But it's like what you have listed as what you need basically to do your combos. So you pick and choose which combos you want to make, which cards are required for that, and then you build it and tailor it for the meta.
Correct. All of the combos in this guide and that we've just seen are all based on these 2 cores. So with that in mind, they can adjust their deck to their liking, but still be aware that all of these lines are still available to them.
All right, sweet. Well, I appreciate you coming and like not only like making a video with me, but letting me learn how this deck works. Like I now feel like I wouldn't be a crazy pilot with it or anything, but if I had a deck list and I was playing at locals or something, I'd be pretty competent in my plays based on like watching you do it a bunch of times and also getting to ask questions to get the explanation. So now like also if you play this at locals, you better watch out if you play me. You're not going to have that surprise factor anymore.
Yeah.
All right, and so thank you also to everybody that watched, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe and check out the spreadsheet down below. If you don't, then fuck off. Bye, guys.